Under the scorched twin suns of the colony world of Masada, 9, the final outpost of free humanity, stood encircled by the Empire's machines. On jagged red cliffs, overlooking the empty salt sea of the dead basin below, the last 987 rebels made their stand. No reinforcements would come. No escape routes remained. The Empire had cracked every stronghold but this, an ancient fortress built into the cliffs, named after the lost Earth bastion where, millennia ago, others had faced the same end. They had not bowed. Neither would these. Commander Elian paced the perimeter wall, his boots grinding into sun-bleached dust. The fortress AI flickered beside him, an outdated model, cracked and blinking. Its name was Jaffa, Old Hebrew for beautiful, though no one had called it that in years. "They're breaching the third defense ring," Jaffa reported, its voice glitching. 6 hours until total perimeter collapse. Elian glanced down at the valley, swarming with Imperial drone forges and orbital drop cannons. They didn't even send living soldiers anymore. Why risk human lives when they could let algorithms grind the resistance into powder? Yet Elian's people were still human, still choosing each breath, each moment, each act of defiance. 6 hours, he said. Plenty of time. In the underground halls, lit by flickering solar cells, families gathered. Children sat cross-legged listening to elders tell stories, not of war, but of Earth, of cities drowned in sea, of languages lost and recovered, of prophets and pilots, of rebellion and resurrection. The youngest among them had never seen the stars without being hunted. But they still laughed. They still asked questions. One of them, Talia, age 9, asked Elian, "Is it true they want to reprogram our minds?" He knelt beside her. "Yes. They'll put you in a cradle pod. Fill you with Empire history, Empire dreams. You'll wake up thinking you were always theirs." She frowned. "Then we don't let them take us." He nodded. "Exactly. The plan had been forming for weeks. No one wanted to speak it aloud, not even the council. But the ghosts of ancient Masada walked the halls of this fortress too. They remembered. They knew. Freedom was not an idea scribbled in treaties or encoded in data. It was the choice to die standing rather than live kneeling. The outermost defense ring fell by nightfall. The Empire sent a broadcast, smooth, synthetic, and oddly warm. "Citizens of the illegitimate settlement Masada, 9. You have been granted mercy. Surrender now. Assimilation will be painless. Resistance only prolongs suffering." Elian stood on the central tower and answered, "We are not your citizens, and we do not recognize your mercy." Inside the command chamber, the final vote was cast. 12 hands raised. None opposed. The AI Jaffa sealed the gates. The fusion cores were armed, not to explode outward, but inward. Implosion to erase the data banks, the history logs, the blueprints of rebellion. Better oblivion than compliance. But there was one last mission, one last child to carry the memory forward. Elian called for Mira, his second in command and once his wife. They had separated when the war began. Not out of anger, but duty. Now, they looked at each other not with regret, but understanding. In the back chamber, the stasis cradle waited, an ancient escape pod, barely operable. Inside, a cloned star map to a forgotten system marked Eshkol, grape cluster, where exiles might one day begin again. Talia stood by the pod, brave but trembling. "You will remember all this," Mira whispered. "Not just the death, the stories, the choice." Elian kissed the girl's forehead. "No empire can kill an idea if it's carried in a child's heart." Mira sealed the pod and ejected it minutes before the final perimeter fell. The Empire breached the walls with seismic charges. Drones flooded the inner sanctum, recording, scanning, transmitting. But they found no resistance. No data. No cries. Just silence. The rebels had activated the core. The fortress collapsed inward, clean, precise, and final. All 987 souls gone. Not by enemy hands, but by their own with dignity intact. Centuries later, on a fringe world where green forests tangled with machine roots, a child named Talia stepped out of an ancient stasis pod. The small village that found her didn't know what to make of the relic she carried, a data crystal with a single intact file labeled Masada. The file could not be read by any known tech, but she could recite its contents from memory. Songs, names, faces, stories. She grew into a scholar, then a leader. She taught others not of vengeance, but of the line we never cross, even in defeat. She named her settlement Jaffa. 100 years after that, a new resistance lit across 3 systems, marked by a strange glyph, a jagged cliff, twin suns, and a flame held high. The empire never found its source. But everywhere it spread, people whispered of a world that had chosen death over chains, of humans who built a fortress in the mouth of the beast and refused to kneel. They said Masada was never lost. It was passed on,